Chapter 2. Uh-oh, everyone's moving. Pop came home. No, not to Mount Airy. That wasn't his home. He was not welcome in the home of the Dewey clan in Mount Airy. His own home was his father and mother's home, once filled with 10 older, second-generation Irish sisters in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, Schuylkill County, the coal region, the home of the famous Molly Maguires, a.k.a. to any Irish guy, the Mollies. He was the youngest of 11 children, the only boy. You can imagine why he was so spoiled. Pottsville was the capital of the anthracite coal region, also known as the hard coal region. It was the rail shipping and transportation center for the hard coal industry product, continuously railed to Philadelphia and parts west for home heating, and therefore supported a thriving Reading Railroad line. The Irish clan in Pottsville, closest in similarity to the Dewey clan in Philadelphia, was the Rileys. My mother's oldest sister, Aunt Seal, considered a major general, by the way, by the Philadelphia Dewey clan, married Ed Riley, a scion of the Riley clan in Pottsville and a Maytag washer franchise owner. When Jimmy and I visited, their youngest son, a cousin my own age, teased us continually as city slickers. And he said we drank his pee because the toilet emptied into the Schuylkill River, which was black from coal dust anyway, so we couldn't see it when it arrived in Philadelphia. I hated that, and I called him a dirty coal cracker every chance I got. Back in Mount Airy, my brother Jimmy and I got used to being called orphans. We knew Pop was alive, and that's what people called us. We hadn't seen him much during the war, especially after our mom died. Orphan was a title conferred upon us by the Dewey clan. It suited them, although it was not a true circumstance. Pop was a veteran of the Battle of Normandy. He served as a pharmacist mate on a hospital ship right off of Omaha Beach in the Great Battle for Europe on June 6, 1944. The first time I saw Pop after the war, he was all decked out in his tight-fitting naval uniform with lots of ribbons. After he came home from England, he was stationed at the Naval Hospital in South Philadelphia. His uniform was blue with a weird bow for a necktie, and he wore a striped bib on backwards with red, white, and blue marks and stripes all over his sleeve. He wears a Dixie cup on his head. That's the description Uncle Bill always used when Pop's name was mentioned around Grandmom's house. Pop was still persona non grata in Mount Airy as far as the Dewey clan was concerned. Apparently, from the whispers we heard, Pop had been spoiled rotten, a flirtatious playboy, and a terrible drinker all his life. I began to sense drinking was a problem. It was talked about in whispers that Jimmy and I heard at night as we hovered silently at the top of the back stairs, listening to the intimate family chatter in the kitchen while Grandma was soaking her feet in a large pan of hot water, having her evening beers with whichever aunts or uncles were visiting at the time. Grandma was the titular head of the Dewey clan on a Friday or Saturday or holiday night, anytime people visited. Drinking was looked upon with a type of admiration at Grandma's. It was what everyone did when they relaxed. It's what everyone did when a large group of relatives came to the house. It's what everyone did at wakes. It's what everyone did at parties. It's what everyone did at marriages and birthdays. It's what everyone did anytime anyone got together and wanted to change the mood to laughing. That is, until the fighting began between the uncles. Frankly, I never heard drinking criticized until Pop came home. All of a sudden, drinking and fighting was not the in thing to do around Grandmom's. The clan whispered about Pop's drinking like it was strange and an awful thing. Somehow his drinking was different from Uncle Bill's and Uncle John's. Uncle Bill screamed at Japs when he was drunk, and Uncle John fought with civilians. Apparently Pop screamed at anyone and fought with everybody. Jimmy was originally baptized Patrick James Little at St. Patrick's Parish in Pottsville. When he was 12, however, Grandmom had his name officially changed, and when she became his legal guardian, by dropping the first name Patrick and keeping James. And this was done in a Philadelphia court, and of course Uncle Charlie took care of that. There was always a threatening atmosphere whenever the older Patrick came around Mount Airy for his regular monthly visit. All of a sudden, one day, we knew why. Grandma ordered us to pack our clothes in paper bags and told Jimmy and me very tearfully that we would be going to a new parish called Ascension in a place called Kensington to live with Pop. Oh my, I remember that very bad day so very, very well. I never adjusted to the abandonment, and Jimmy never recovered. Our 7 and 8-year-old hearts were very, very broken. We would both really miss Grandma. She was our only real protector for all our lives. Kensington was a white, working-class neighborhood. No blacks, no Italians, mostly Catholic and all kinds of other ethnic Europeans besides Irish. Jimmy and I started 4th and 5th grades at Ascension Parish Grammar School. The biggest surprise of all, we had a new mother. Florence Bain, a German-American by heritage. She had a brother, Eddie, who was a Marine. Aha! Something familiar for me to hang on to. He served a long hitch in the South Pacific and loved to tell me about the Marines every chance he got. He did not drink. That was confusing. Actually, he did not even like drinkers very much, and that was a surprise. Pop gave us a lot of old Navy clothes, but I would always make some excuse or other not to wear them. I liked Pop. He was always kind and always gentle with both Jimmy and me. He called me his little roast beef and Jimmy his little leg of lamb. We thought that was really cool when we sat on his lap after delivering his nightly glass of beer or wine and ginger ale cocktail to both him and Mom, as we called her, while they were listening to the evening radio shows together. Florence was very difficult to remember, but I know I liked her very well. She was very kind and very nice. Pop worked at a local chemical company, Roman Hawes, as I remember. He had a regular daily routine. His weekly paycheck became a big event to look forward to, and I can still see him casually strolling up Ontario Street carrying a familiar paper bag in that smiley, confident way that only Pop could do, with 2 bottles of Ortler beer tucked safely under his arm and a look of relief and great anticipation on his big red face. However, if Pop was happy, we were happy. Florence came and went often during the next few years in Kensington. She could not make up her mind. Was Pop going to sober up and she would stick around, or he was going to stay drunk and she would have to leave? Jimmy and I secretly rooted for her leaving. Jimmy was a feisty little guy by this time. He loved fighting, challenging me often. Running, jumping, climbing, anything athletic appealed to Jimmy. He reveled in performing bizarre stunts. Like the time, well, let me put it this way. As little kids, we all hung around the corner candy store with the rest of the neighborhood gang. The community gathering spot in all cities of all ages was always the corner store. Inside, we had a pinball machine, and we could get a cherry Coke and chocolate cupcakes, or a black and white milkshake and a pack of cheese squares. Cops, in their Philly red cars, loved to chase us as much as we all loved to be chased. It happened at least once a week during the spring, summer, and the fall. One hot, boring summer night, right after supper, the corner was crowded with men and boys, the young guys playing 3-card Andy on the side step and pitching pennies with the older guys out front, and the cry went up, "Here they come!" And that was the community call. Everyone scattered out of range. A cop got out of the red car. Jimmy baited him for a chase. As the cop ran up to him, arms wide, Jimmy, who was about 9 years old at the time, vaulted a metal picket churchyard fence across the street from the candy store and jumped up and grabbed a low branch on the closest tree. The other cop got out of the car because they saw they had him trapped. We all chanted, "Go higher, Jimmy, go higher." Jimmy went higher as the cops started climbing up the lower limbs. Jimmy made it to the very top and started swinging and rocking the single tree back and forth to shake, which was especially dangerous for the cops on the lower branches. The cops were really pissed off. Then suddenly Jimmy launched himself like a rocket from the very top of the tree, hit the ground, rolled, bolted over the fence, and laughed all the way home. The guys on the corner absolutely loved it. They were applauding and hooting and hollering. Jimmy made his bones in the neighborhood that day. I was so proud of him. Florence had to take him to the hospital because his balls went up into his stomach. Yuck. I was a gang follower and Jimmy a total loner. Jimmy knew I was always after social approval and he thought I was a wimp. I thought he just liked pissing everyone off and avoided his company at every opportunity. We lived in a row house with white marble steps, which I scrubbed every Saturday all year long. Jimmy hassled me every chance he got, until our one final emotional separation as brothers over a few consecutive Saturday nights, one summer, and that set the course for our future lives together forever.